now we get to talk some more heavyweight controversy, quite possibly, because we're all looking for the super fight between Francis Ngannou and Jon Jones, but now that fight is in doubts. As the UFC report, according to Ariel Hawani, they're kicking the tires on a rematch. Of course, technically it's a rematch. We all like to pretend that the first fight didn't happen, but between Francis Ngannou and Derek Lewis. And it's been interesting because Jon Jones put out a tweet saying that he's not looking to accept anywhere between 8 to 10 million fights. He thinks he's worth, or dollars, he's worth more than that for this fight, which I could totally see the argument for. And then you had Derek Lewis, just always knowing what to say. He goes out and tweets, "I'd do this for 8 million. Shit." And so, fantastic. That's really the best response right there. So the UFC, they're looking into possibly going to July 12th, the UFC 263 for this fight. Apparently that time will not work for Francis Ngannou. So does this allow us to push it back and then still look at Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou? Or are we going to go ahead with this rematch? What should happen here?
I mean, I think what should happen is obviously the Jon Jones fight.
Mm-hmm.
But what's going to happen is kind of it. I think the ball is kind of in. I don't know. It's kind of at half court almost.
Yeah, right. No one's controlling this.
Because yeah, there has to be some common ground that they find. It seems like they're just on such polar opposite sides. You know, Jon Jones wants more money. Dana White is just not even close to being about that, and I don't know if he's even close to thinking about a pay raise in general. So that's going to be a lot to kind of sift through and yeah, I don't know. They're gonna have to come to some sort of agreement or compromise, I guess would be the better word to use, because that's what it's gonna have to be. And that's why I'm leaning more towards the Derek Lewis fight, unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
just because availability. You know, that's your best ability, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
in professional sports. And Derek Lewis is going to be available, and hopefully that fight's better this time. But
There's no way it can't be. I'll knock on wood already for that. I'll knock on wood, but there's no way it can't be.
we'll see, man. It's not. It's not gonna. I don't know. That's gonna be a tough. They're gonna have to put like a phenomenal co-main, and possibly even like a just a stacked card in general, because that fight right there is going to turn off, I think, a lot of people, and the fact that people are going to know, okay, you're not even working with Jon right now, so
Right.
a lot of people might take Jon's side. So it's just kind of a
Yeah,
mess,
but with Jon Jones,
unfortunately.
he's trying to get more money. He put it out that he's trying to. He says that he's trying to get. He's in it for all fighters. I don't buy that. I don't buy that for a second.
Yeah, he was saying that on the Steve-O's Wild Ride podcast. And it just doesn't really make too much sense, because I don't understand how like the little guys would benefit from Jon Jones, holding out for more money. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's not like they have that same type of negotiating power. They can't just go in and demand more money their first fight. They got to do something first and prove and show why they deserve, a raise in pay.
Mm-hmm.
Jon Jones, I definitely think he could negotiate a bump in pay, but he doesn't really have a lot of momentum right now.
No.
And yes, it is two of the greatest of all times fighting against each other. The fight sells itself, blah 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 blah. But it just, I don't know, man. You can't just. I can see Dana's side. Let's just say it that way.
Yes.
I can see both sides, but I can definitely see Dana's side a little bit more than I can see Jon Jones' side, just
Mm-hmm.
because of the performances that he's been putting out recently. And another thing that he's been saying too is, everyone has a bad night at work.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've had two bad nights of work back to back, your last two times going to work, it's kind of becoming a pattern, right? I don't know.
I mean, let's look at these last fights. Let's look at the last.
And the way he's talking about it too, dude. Like, I'm telling you, go watch the Steve-O's Wild Ride podcast. The way he's talking about the Francis Ngannou fight, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but it's got me worried a little bit, because he is talking a lot about getting knocked out. He's like, you got to be okay with the worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario,
It's really confusing.
is he knocks you out and he breaks a few bones and he fractures a few bones in your face. And I'm like, dude, like, if that thought has already entered your mind, I think you've lost. Like, you need to.
Jon Jones is so confusing to me at this point But you're saying he's kind of limping into this almost because his last 5 fights, let's go through them. Back in 2017, we had the no contest between him and DC because,
Mm-hmm.
the picograms in that
Picograms.
one. Then
Pictograms.
it was Alexander Gustafsson, and so that was a good fight.
Yeah,
That was a real good fight with the rematch right there. But besides that, we had Anthony Smith.
not a real good fight for Gus though.
No,
Let's be
no.
honest.
Just for John. It was, but then we had Anthony Smith, which was a unanimous decision where Anthony Smith could have won the belt if he took the DQ right there because the illegal knee strike to a ground opponent. Jon Jones could have and arguably should have lost that fight. And then the next,
Aljamain would agree.
Aljamain definitely.
Aljo would agree.
Aljo would agree on that one. That's for damn sure. Then we had Thiago Santos, where he won a split decision. He almost lost a guy with two torn knees, two totally blown out knees, and so that's not good. And then to a lot of people, he arguably lost to Dominic Reyes in a unanimous decision back in early 2020. So I mean, Jon Jones, sure, arguably easily one of the greatest fighters of all time. He's the current pound for pound best fighter in the world right now. But, it's been a while since we've seen a Jon Jones performance.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen the Jon Jones that won the title at 23 and just started executing people in the octagon.
Yeah.
I miss that Jon. I miss the one that would come out there and just kill folks. He went out there with an agenda. It seemed like just get in there, kill someone, and go do a bunch of hard drugs. I miss that Jon